I wanted to come on here and briefly talk about this. I hope that this doesn't turn into a long video. Hopefully I can keep it under 10 minutes, if not 10 minutes at most. And talk about this recent hiring of this man by the name of Mike McDaniel. Now, if you don't know who he is, he was the defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. And he's just recently been hired as the head coach for the Miami Dolphins, replacing Brian Flores. And I had posted up something on Twitter, but before I actually get into that, let me talk about what led me into talking about Mike McDaniel. Now, first off, I don't know much of anything about Mike McDaniel other than he's the new head coach for the Miami Dolphins. But what struck me as odd instantly, which made me prompt me to make this video, is that you have certain media outlets who are trying to say or are saying that Mike McDaniels is quote unquote biracial / black. And I'm looking like, and I'm gonna quote some of my people who retweeted it, because the tweet has gotten a lot of traction since I posted it. And I actually used this picture that you see on your screen for it. And when they was like, what in the logic is going on here? Now, if you don't understand why they said that, they're talking about Logic, the rapper, who is another individual who is biracial and he looks like he can actually pass. But the thing about Logic is we actually know that he has a black parent. We have seen the black parent. But when I looked up trying to find his parents, I can't find anything on Mike McDaniel's parents. Like nothing. Now, someone had said that his dad is Jamaican or whatever the case may be, but I actually typed into the search on Google Mike McDaniel's parents and I can't find anything. We know that one of the parents is definitely PC. That's a given. But it's amazing how they instantly said or led with he's biracial. And we know the controversy that's going on with Brian Flores, who clearly we already can see who actually looks like a black man. And as far as we know, identifies as black, as far as we know. So we don't have to question it, even though he's non-FBA. He has Honduran roots. But we know that there's a lot of controversy, of course, with Brian Flores because of him coming out and saying what's been going on with the NFL, the Rooney Rule, the lawsuit, and all types of stuff like that, and the racism within the NFL, which, of course, many of us have been well aware of for years now. Probably even before Colin Kaepernick, but of course with Colin Kaepernick it came to light. And even with Colin Kaepernick, we know he has a black parent. We've seen a picture of his dad. If we even only seen one image, we've seen a picture of his dad. So we know that there's, definitely some blackness there, and he looks way more ethnic, I guess you can say, than Mike McDaniel. I think they truly did this because they have to find a way to save face to say we're not racist. We hire black coaches and everything like that. But the thing about it is that you got the person who could definitely pass. You didn't go out and hire a black coach for the Dolphins. You went and got the most ethnically ambiguous looking one possible. Now, for all I know, I can't judge this guy based off of, his looks or anything, because his looks is not what's getting him the job, or it should be based on what can he do with the team. But I want to see if he's going to get the same kind of pressure put onto him that Brian Flores did. The NFL think they funny. They think they slick with this one. They can't pull the wool over my eyes. But you should see some of the comments that the people have left underneath this. I'm going to see, you know what? Because I don't know when this video is going to go up. What I might have to do is I might have to copy the link to the thread, because you can do that on Twitter, and I would have to send it to myself and then post it into the comment section below and pin it so y'all can go back and look at the thread, because by the time this video goes up, I guess you can say the thread won't have as much traction anymore unless it somehow goes viral and it continues to spread. But man, the people under that comment section are leaving all kinds of crazy comments, not in a bad way, but someone said, if he's biracial, I'm Aryan, or if he's biracial, I'm white, and so many other things, because it's like, huh? Like, let's be real here. If you was to see Mike McDaniel walking down the street and you had no idea who he was, you had no idea of his ethnic background, you would assume he was a PC man. Cause look, But like I said, the NFL is trying to pass him off as such to try to cover themselves with the whole Brian Flores situation. Like I said, they cannot pull the wool over my eyes. I said, if that was the case, y'all might as well just have gone and got another black coach. But see, that would have been too obvious. So they said, let's not get a PC coach, but let's not get a black coach who actually looks and identifies as black. Let's go and get someone who's right smack dab in the middle. As if we wouldn't notice that either. Like, come on now. But like I said, this is no indictment on any of his skills, you know, as a defensive coordinator for the 49ers or him being the coach for the Dolphins, because I don't know what he's going to do with the team. But it's just something that I noticed the NFL doing. And the NFL is not the only organization to do this. It's been other organizations who do slick stuff like this in the past, and they continue to do so. But it's up to us to call it out for what it is. That's all I'm saying. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. If you have not done so already, make sure that you go ahead and hit that bell so you can be notified every time I upload a new video or go live. I had to add this little piece in here, and this is another image of Mike McDaniel. And I swear, like, anybody who saw him walk, like I said in the previous part, before I had to cut the video off and add this part in, was swear up and down that this was a PC man. So I, did a little bit more digging, thanks to the people who left responses in the Twitter post that is still gaining or garnering a lot of attention and a lot of traction. I didn't realize it was going to, make that, make its rounds like that. But with the algorithm, you never know what could happen. I ended up finding out his mother's name. Her name is Donna. Like they said, her name is Donna. And of course, she's a PC woman. They said his dad is black, but the thing that got me was they said we don't know his dad's name. It's unknown. Like when I was reading this article, and if I can, have the article on hand when I upload this video, I'll pin it at the top of the comments so you can read it for yourself. Because that article was talking about his ethnicity and everything like that. And of course, people are going to question that because, not because of just the hiring of him being down in Miami, but because they already pretty much labeled him as biracial. And because of now that the NFL has 4 minority coaches, 1 black, 1 Hispanic, 1 I believe is Arab based on that last name. I could be wrong. And this guy who is labeled as biracial. They don't have his dad's name down there. It's not listed. They said that he was born in Aurora, Colorado in 1983. He went to Yale University. His mom raised him as a single mother. So it sounds like to me his dad wasn't there in his life. So we don't know who his dad is or what his dad looks like, what his name is, none of that. It also said that he is married to this woman named Katie. They've been married since 2014. But what really got me when I was reading this article was it says that he nor his wife have any social media accounts. None. Like you couldn't find an account with him with an Instagram, a Twitter account, a Facebook, nothing. But this guy is technically a public figure and is about, it has been hired as the coach for the Miami Dolphins. So it sounds to me like he lives a very private life. Like that's the only thing that I could think of, especially for someone his age. They said he's 38. So it's people who's older than him that have social media accounts, and they said he and his wife don't have one. They said his mother, she's not on social media like that either. And like I said, when I typed, like trying to find like, an image of his parents, just to see what they look like, I couldn't find nothing. It's almost like he just kind of popped up to me. That's just the vibe that I'm getting. And, I usually would never make a video like this, but because of the optics and the context behind it all, I said I have to do as much digging as I possibly can about this one, because a lot of people on social media, especially on Twitter, who have left responses to my to the tweet that I made about him, they already have their preconceived notions of saying like, he's white or I don't believe it. I'm even on the verge of wanting to ask, or like I said in the previous part, is his dad biracial himself? Like, is his dad of a multi-ethnic background himself? Because it's really crazy how, if to look at this guy and believe he has even one black parent that's fully black. Now, I know genetics and how all of that works is, one thing, and, things can happen, but damn, that's wild to me. That's because, sometimes when you see a person who is obviously mixed, and, sometimes they'll be on the lighter side, you can kind of look at them and just tell that something is there. It's a little, it's a little bit, it's something going on in that admixture. But when you look at him, like, bump passing, a lot of people will just say, oh, this is a white guy. Especially looking at this picture right here. Now, see, like I said, this is a picture when he was with San Francisco. It's a more older picture. He has a shorter cut. He has the comb over cut. He has a low facial hair, opposed to the picture I showed you earlier where his hair is a bit longer and he has more facial hair, but still at the same time, he still appears a certain way. And like I said, the NFL, I believe, did this on purpose. That's really my main focus as to why I'm doing this commentary. I don't want people to think, oh, I'm just attacking him because he's biracial. No, I'm talking about it from a standpoint of what the NFL is actually doing. Like, I saw their end game a mile away with this one. When they said, oh, we got another minority coach. And I said, where? Miami. I was like, oh, here they go. And then they said this guy. I was like, what? You hired a white guy? Like, I don't know if y'all know the definition of minority, but they definitely don't fall into that category. And then that's when they came up and they said this. Like, I just want y'all to be honest with me down in the comment section. If you look at this guy on your screen right here, would you have pegged him to even be mixed? I'm willing to bet a good chunk of you are going to say no. Because I would have said no. I would have said, oh, that's a PC guy. But I see, like I said, I see what the NFL is doing. I see what they're trying to do. And like I said, this is no dig at him, because I don't even know this guy personally. He could probably be one of the coolest people in the world, for all I know. But the NFL, to me, is definitely using him as a tool to try to hide behind this whole Brian Flores situation. And how ironic they hire him in Florida. Especially since, the Giants and the, Denver, well, the Giants, they picked up a PC, man. Then you had Denver and then you had Miami. And then this is what happens. I wonder if he realizes he's being used, because I truly believe that he is. Honestly. I guess this is their way of saying the NFL's got its first biracial coach. But the thing is, they got the most closest to white looking biracial coach. They didn't get one that looks obviously like they're mixed. I'm just saying. Furthermore, I wanted to correct myself on something. Mike McDaniel was not the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. He was the offensive coordinator for the 49ers, which makes it very interesting considering that he literally got bumped from offensive coordinator to head coach. And I looked up a stat and it said from 2009 to 2019, 40% of the offensive coordinators had become head coaches. That's actually a relatively small number. That's not even half. And so basically, and for those of you who don't know, an offensive coordinator, they just basically call the plays and deal with all things offensive. They pretty much deal with just the offensive players. The defensive coordinators deal with the defensive players, and the coaches, they pretty much deal with everything. So you literally have him bumped up to this position where he only has experience with one side of the team. So now he's about to be dealing with both sides of the aspect ratio when it comes to the teams. But I wanted to also touch on something else that actually really doesn't have anything to do with Mike McDaniel, but with another person that just recently got hired by the NFL, who is who is now officially the new head coach for the Houston Texans. And that would be this guy, Lovie Smith. Now, this is Lovie Smith, and he is now officially the new head coach for the Houston Texans. He just got hired like yesterday, and I'm recording this portion on the 9th. It's amazing. I literally started recording this video like 2 days ago, and I literally had to constantly add stuff in, but I just didn't want to do a whole bunch of separate videos. I said, why not just condense them all into one? But he just got hired as the head coach for the Houston Texans yesterday. And if I'm not mistaken, the whole thing with Brian Flores, I think I want to say, was the Houston Texans part of that? No, it wasn't. It was the Broncos. The Broncos, the Giants, and the Dolphins. So they just hired Lovie Smith literally like yesterday. And from what I've heard, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, he wasn't even at the top of the list of who they were going to pick as far as a head coach. It was somebody, I think some former high school coach. I'm like, how in the world are you going to get a high school coach just to jump into the NFL? But then the whole Brian Flores situation, they thought in the back of their mind, like, we going to scrap that high school coach, which leads me to believe that person probably wasn't even black. And we're going to go get the, Lovie Smith. But this time we're going to make sure that he actually is a black man or a black individual, and we're gonna put him in here. I'm telling you, that's why I titled this video the way that I did, because it's bigger than just Mike McDaniel. Like, now this factors into it as well. The NFL they are not low. They are not low. They think they are. They think they can pull the wool over our eyes, but they can't get me. They can't fool me. I know exactly what they're doing. So now they can say I guess you can say, a fifth individual, because I think before they brought in Lovie Smith as a head coach, it was just four. The four that I mentioned already, Mike McDaniel, Mike Tomlin, and the other two, and now Lovie Smith will make five. So now it seems like they want to, quote unquote, honor the Rooney Rule or overextend the Rooney Rule because of everything going on, because of the lawsuit that Brian Flores brought up. But the thing is, now you make yourself look guilty, because it's like you wouldn't have done all of this before if he didn't say anything. So it's like y'all should have kept that same energy, but we know how they get down. I just wanted to add this in here. If there's anything else that needs to be added in after this part of the video or the commentary, I'll be sure to throw it in there before I upload it. And if not, then we'll just cut it right here. And then if there's any other updates, that'll be in another pre-recorded video. All right, so I'm back to add in another piece to the puzzle, and maybe this could be the final piece, because this is the one where we finally have Mike McDaniel on the podium, basically speaking about his new position as the coach for the Miami Dolphins, and someone in the crowd asked the question that everybody has been wanting to hear a response from him about, and I'm go ahead and play this, and you can go ahead and hear his response.
It's something, but I identify as a human being. And my dad's black, so whatever you want to call it. I know there's a lot of people with a shared experience, but it doesn't make, it's weird that it comes up, because I've just tried to be a good person, and I think my background opens my eyes a little bit. I don't have any real experience with racism, because, I think you identify me as something close to, I don't know. But I know my mom experienced it when she married my dad. I know my dad experienced it, and that's in my family, but I guess that makes me a human being that can identify with other people's problems.
Okay. Usually I would run back the clip and play it back, but this response was too cringy to even want to do that. And I feel like we've already drawn this out enough, but we just wanted to hear from him in his response. And it is the exact response that many of us on the internet who have been following this knew was going to come of this. And that was, we know he doesn't identify as black. That's number one. That's pretty obvious. We knew that. Number two, the other one was, well, does he at least identify as biracial? He didn't even say that. And to be honest, when you look at him, it's pretty obvious that his dad might have been biracial himself, because he looks way closer to PC than he does to biracial at this point. Honestly, he came out and he said, I identify as human. That's a cop-out. They weren't asking you, like, what species you were. You are the human being. That's a species, just like an animal is a species, or reptiles, mammals, however you want to put it. That wasn't the question that you were asked. They were asking you, what do you what do you identify ethnicity wise? And I find that a lot of people who fall into this category like him give that same kind of response, because for some reason it's like they're scared to answer that question in public, because they know in private, or maybe with their friends or whoever they're with, they identify a certain way. But when they're put in front of the camera, if they ever get that chance to be in the spotlight, they commonly tend to do that. Because if you look back at older clips of Mariah Carey when she was just getting started in the music business back in 1990, and they asked her, what does she identify as? Because, you know, it was always questions hovering. Was she white? Was she black? What was she? Because people could look at it and say, she looks white, but she doesn't sound it. She sounds like she has some, you know, black in her. Of course, we know that we've seen pictures of her dad. Her dad was a black and Venezuelan man, and a dark skinned man at that. But when they would ask her this type of question, she kind of gave somewhat of the same kind of response early on. But then eventually, as time went on, she started to, I guess you can say, embrace it and start to identify as what she does now. And that's clearly a biracial woman. But he's doing initially the same thing here. There's only a few people who are quote unquote biracial who will actually pick either biracial or black. It's very, you know, it's only a few that will do it. But he gave the typical response that we kind of figured that he would, because he's never been put on the spot to actually give this response, which lets me also further believe that he's gone through life white passing or just simply passing, because he's never been in a position where he has had to answer this question. That's why. But now people get the response. But he gave the cop-out response of saying, you know, I'm human. But what really made me side-eye was when he said I'm human and then followed up and said my dad is black. So hold on. Are you trying to tell us that basically what you're telling me is you're only black when it's convenient for you? And also listen to how hesitant he was to answer these questions. And it was not question, but question. It was one question. He hesitated to answer this question. He didn't give a straight flow of a response. He gave pauses in between, like he was nervous to answer this question, like I said, because he's never been in a position, I guarantee, to have to answer this question. Because throughout life, most people never questioned what he was, because many had already assumed in their mind that he was a PC man, knowing deep down inside that he wasn't. But when you look at him, that's how you see him. Like, I've seen a picture of him and his wife and his daughter. His daughter, I told y'all early on, his wife's name is Katie. So that's pretty much all you need to know. I've seen a picture of him, his wife. They were on the plane. I guess this was the picture when he was on his way to Miami. And I think it was because he was wearing the same suit. And he had his daughter on his lap. And his daughter looks like a straight up and down, through and through PC little girl. I'm talking with the blonde hair and blue eyes. So basically, whatever blackness was there is completely gone through his daughter. That's it. It's done. But like I said also before, in previous parts, when they talk about, when we look up his parents, we only find a picture of his mother. We even found out her name. But we don't find anything on his dad. Like, it's the craziest thing. Like, we know you had a dad, but we never seen a picture of him. Because they said his mother raised him as a single mother. Apparently the dad wasn't there. And it's almost like he vanished into thin air and he's no longer with us, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, he gave the cop-out response, which many of us, including myself, knew he was going to do. We would have been shocked if he did anything otherwise. But to say that, you know, I identify as human and my dad is black. Huh? And then the rest of the response after that was just fluff. It was like, you could have just stopped right there. You could have said, I identify as human and my dad is black. Next question. But no, he had to go and explain why he said that, and it further made no sense.